pandemic and the requirement for social distancing, to keep you safe, we are not allowed the public to attend. Normally, by attending a public meeting of the municipality, you are considering your image, voice, and comments being recorded. Today's meeting may be streamed live as well, as recorded and published on the Southwest Middlesex YouTube channel and website. Council, any member of council declaring a pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 3. Council, any additions to the agenda? Council, I'd like to bring to your attention, we have a discussion on the procurement of an integrity commissioner. And in that discussion, there's no salaries or costs of procuring one. And as a result of the confidentiality of estimates that came into the municipality, I'm wondering if we could just move the section of move an additional item into the closed meeting so that council can be apprised of the numerical value associated with the selection. I've earlier apprised the deputy mayor of that. And if there's no objections, I would like to see that included when we move the motion, just to allow council the idea. I have not seen the numbers, and I would be interested in them, and I thought council would be interested in them as well. So if we could move that to the meeting. With that being said, if someone would like to move that the agenda of council dated November 25th be accepted as presented with the inclusion of the cost of integrity commissioners that we have received. May I have a mover for that?
So Mayor Mayhew, if I may, you just want an in-camera session.
I want that
to deal with the integrity commissioner report. Yep.
The cost of the integrity commissioner. Yes. The cost of the integrity commissioner. I think I saw Mark's hand up. Is that correct, Councillor McGill? Okay, thank you, Mark. I'm sorry. And Councillor Bartlett, discussion? Well, yes, go ahead, Councillor Vink.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I don't see why it should be in camera. The ratepayers have a right to know what the cost would be. In the end, we'll have to pay for any cost there would be.
Yep. Martin, you're correct in that the ratepayers do have a right to know the cost. What we're doing here, we're seeing several costs, okay? And that's why we have to, when council makes their decision, the cost will be available to the public. It's just with respect to the privacy of other people who have when there's been an RFP put out and numbers come in, it's customary not to show the losing participants. It's not in their best interest. Councillor Cowell, go ahead.
In the process of doing my due diligence and researching this on my own accord, I found at least 6 different municipalities that use this provider, and 2 of which listed the costs in their bylaws acknowledging this person. So I have a fairly good idea of what this will cost, and I plan on bringing that up during the open session portion of the meeting, but I just thought I would make everyone aware that in the process, that information, at least for this, the one that's being recommended, was available on the internet.
Yep, it will. Yeah, it's just you know, I've taken some direction from staff on this as well. I don't want you to think it's my own idea, and just for due diligence, for privacy of us, and to from a legal standpoint, we want to make sure that those numbers are certainly available, but we don't want to make other competing companies look any the less by revealing all those numbers at first. But the public will certainly be made aware of who we pick, what the services are, and how much it's going to cost us. Jill, can you give me any direction on this? Am I on the right track here?
So Mayor Mayhew, your request was that council have the opportunity to see the costing proposal, which is just one portion of the evaluation of an RFP. So in order to do that, to protect the information provided to the municipality in confidence, you'd have to go in closed session for that. And you're correct that if council were to decide to move forward with the recommended supplier of these services, then it would come back to council through a bylaw, and the contract would be awarded by bylaw. And within the contract, it would say how much it is per hour, and that, yes, you don't provide information that relates to other proponents if their evaluation score is not the winning one.
Thank you, Jill, for clarifying that. Thank you, Councillor McGill, for moving that. We have a seconder on that, I believe. Councillor Scholdice, go ahead. Go ahead, Mike. Oh, you're on mute, Mike. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I'm just wondering if somebody could explain the difference between this and, say, for instance, when we receive drainage quotes. We receive all of the different drainage quotes in open session. So I'm just wondering, are those people not affected in the same way?
That may have something to do with the Drainage Act in itself, but Jill, can you answer that? Or
Yep, sure. Again, we're back to the difference between a request for proposals and a request for tenders. So when you go to the market with a tender, you specifically know what it is that you are requesting of the market to come back, and you are only asking for price. And so the evaluation is price alone. When you go to the market with a request for proposals, you're saying, here's the issue, or here are the services that we're looking for. How would you provide them? Please describe that to us. And a component of the evaluation, which is listed in the RFP document, is the price. There's a couple of different ways to do the pricing component. You could do it as a one envelope system where price is evaluated with everything else, or you can do it as a two envelope system where you evaluate all other criteria, and only if the proponents pass a certain threshold do you move to the second envelope, which would be the price. But this was a one envelope RFP, and price is just one of the components. So it's no different than other RFPs in that it's just a portion of the evaluation, and it is weighted as such.
okay, thank you, Jill. Yeah, last call for questions. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. All opposed? Motion's carried. Jill, for the scribe. Okay. We are, I don't know where we are. We are on number 4, delegation and presentations. We have none. Consent agenda. Council, I'll read through them. And please raise your hand. I'll look up after I read it. I'll look for your hand if you have any questions, or if you'd like to have clarification on it, or if in the event you'd like to take some action on it, please raise your hand. 5A, vouchers totaling $890,353. Any questions? Thank you again, Council, for calling in. I know Kristen received numerous calls on them, and that expedites things very much at the meeting. Thank you. B, Southwest Middlesex October Building Report, $890,000 plus. C, the loss report, service line warranties. Yes, Councillor McGill, go ahead. Yes.
I just want to say that I thought that was a good letter, and that would be a good thing that if it would be displayed on our website, or could it be displayed on our website in such a way that anybody that had questions about that Service Line Warranties of Canada program, or who contacted staff or counselors about it, so that they could be referred to that letter?
Yes, I think that would be good if that couldn't be displayed. Certainly something which resembles it could, Mark, and I can certainly address that with staff. Good idea, Councillor Cowell. Go ahead.
In the letter, it says that we as a municipality have opted to receive a royalty. How much of a royalty do we get?
I'll let Jill answer that. I believe it's available. We don't necessarily have to accept that, though. But Jill, I'll let you answer that.
So I'd have to go double check. It's a small percentage of how much would come back. So I think that, Greg, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's 5%.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Allen, it's 5% that we would receive back based on their total sales.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, all right. Any other questions on that? But it was, I tell you, that was a lot of work for staff to do that work, and Jill takes the credit for that. The ratepayer had some very pointed questions, and she was very articulate in the way she presented them, and Jill gave her a very wholesome answer. Councillor Vink, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I'd just like to point out, I believe the initial letter was still misleading, and I still stand by that fact.
Yeah. No, in hindsight, you may well be right, Councillor Vink. Okay. Moving on, Four Counties Hospital newsletter. Yes, Councillor Cowell. Question?
I just wanted to make a comment about the newsletter. This week, Deputy Mayor and I had the opportunity to sit with the Women's Caucus that has been formed at County Council. And one of the things that they mentioned is really having a negative impact on caregivers, which often falls on women, is the day programs that run through different health organizations like Four Counties. And so they have an adult day program, which helps with caregivers who have adults that are needing additional support. And what it means is that those family members can go and leave their adult children or adults, sometimes it's not just children, sometimes it's their parents, at these day programs, and it provides a respite for the caregiver. And at this point, we had one individual who mentioned that the amount of hours of respite that she's now covering, that used to be covered by our healthcare system, is over 175 hours. So it's quite an intensive program, and these families that are in these caregiver positions are really, really struggling with this during the pandemic. So I wanted to bring that up and see if there's any kind of dialogue that we can have with Four Counties about the possibility of getting some of these day programs back up in some form or another. And I understand we're in the protect yellow zone right now, so it does make it difficult, but this is really, really weighing on our ratepayers. So I wanted to just bring that up. And
thank you. It is, and as mayor, I received calls, Krista, on the scenarios that you just expressed there, and we have reached out to the county on some case studies and have provided financial relief, but there's a mental health relief that cannot be given at this time. But will Deputy Mayor Wilkins go ahead? We have people that have close associations with Newberry Hospital, and Deputy Mayor may be one. Go ahead, Mary Gay.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. So Krista, and to Council, I'll just comment a little bit on that. So myself and Councillor Crothers do sit on the Four Counties Transportation Committee. And as you know, I'm sure that the service does take residents to and from the adult day program. When the program started, it was, I think, 4 days, maybe 5 days a week. It's now been cut back over the years to 2 days. I myself offered to speak as a delegation with Southwest Middlesex helping, and maybe Councillor Crothers helping at AMO last August, to appeal to the Minister of Health to see if we couldn't get more days out there. And I was politely turned down for that support. So, and that was from the person that runs the adult day program at 4 counties. And I quite frankly didn't get any support from the chair of the meeting. So I'm just putting that out there. I tried, but.
Okay, thank you, Mary Gay. Anyway, and not to miss the point of that, Four Counties new letter was the campaign for the ultrasound equipment at $232,000, which was the focus of that letter. Ontario Energy Board, Enbridge, 99 page. Yeah. Gas increase. City of Brantford resolution, ranked ballots. Town of Grimsby.
Comment.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Krista. Yep, see your hand now. Yep, go ahead.
I would like to pull that out and support it as a motion. It doesn't just speak to ranked ballots, but it also speaks to the changes of the election date. And it in that one, or if not that one, one of the next ones, because I think there's 4 different resolutions that support it. And what they're suggesting is moving the deadline to when you can be a candidate. Your deadline would be into September, which allows for less than a month for staff to get all of the election items organized. And it really does put a burden on the municipal system. And at the same time, the municipal system isn't necessarily asking for change. So on top of the fact that the ranked balloting system is a choice. Maybe it's not the choice we're going to make here. I don't think we need that here, but it was the idea that why is the provincial government taking the municipal government's choices away when they never asked for it? So that's part of it. But then at the same time, the impacts that it will have on our staff will be just crazy, the amount of work they'd have to get done in that short time frame. So I'd like to pull that one out and support that one, and I make that motion.
You'll make that motion. We'll see if we can get a seconder for that. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Wilkins. We're at a discussion point of this. Jill, I'd be very interested in your perspective on that. If you have just a scenario you can give us on this.
So the provincial government has included municipal elections in a rather large bill related to the COVID recovery. Certainly you'll have heard the local news from the City of London, who is the only municipality last election to have opted for ranked ballots. And they had invested a significant amount of effort, and council opted to move in that direction. And they're seeking costs from the provincial government because they were planning to proceed. So the costs of their investment to continue on with that process. Other governments had referendums on their last election and were looking for the opportunity for ranked ballots this time around. I don't believe that this was something that the municipal sector was asking for the provincial government to move away from, but that's what the provincial government has put forward through the bill, along with, as Councillor Cowell noted, changing the date of nomination period to further down the line. So does that put a condensed amount of time on us? For sure. However, we've moved from a very, very long nomination period to a shorter one. I'm sure we can adjust and adapt as we do, but yeah, I don't believe that this was necessarily something that the municipal sector was requesting from the provincial government.
Okay, thank you, Jill. Any other questions from council? Eric, no, Mark, you're just pushing buttons, are you? Oh, you're okay?
No, I just was unmuting myself. If I could make a comment, I really don't like the idea of ranked ballots, but the other part of the resolution is about shortening or making it so you can still put your name in to run much later than currently. And I not really don't think they need to make that change, but it's kind of nice if the rules are the same for all the municipalities in the province too, I think. instead of having a hodgepodge of rules like they, for example, have in the United States. So I don't think I'll support this resolution just because I'd rather leave the no rank ballots the way it is.
Yeah. In a rural, there may be some advantage to that. It may not be the best scenario for a ranked ballot system, obviously. Councillor Cowell, go ahead, Krista.
There is another resolution further down that does just speak to the extension of election nomination period. So if council would prefer to support that one, that's fine with me as well. I think that has more of an impact on us as a rural municipality than the other one. I will just say that a ranked ballot system does offer more diversity when it comes to the type of candidate that you might get nominated.
Okay, Krista, the decision is yours. You moved the motion. Did you want to amend your motion or leave it sit as is?
You know what? I'm actually comfortable with amending it to the Belleville one, only because I think there was one that covered both, but I don't think the Brantford one is the one that covers both. So I'd like to stick with the Belleville one, and I'm sorry for the confusion.
Okay, we're moving away from ranked ballots and going into the timeline of nominations. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes, thank you. It's item O, number J, I think.
Deputy Mayor Wilkins, out of courtesy, do you support the change that Krista proposes there?
I'm fine with that, Mayor Mayhew.
Thanks very much, Mary Gay. Last call for questions. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Council. Town of Grimsby Resolution, Ontario Heritage Act. City of Belleville Resolution AODA, website support. Belleville Resolution, extension of nomination period. Prince Edward County Resolution Bill 218. Of Amaranth Resolution Bill 218. Again, ranked ballots. Town of Amaranth Resolution 218. Fort Erie Resolution. Regarding appeals of conservation authorities. Fort Erie Resolution, support Bill 108. Regarding the Cannabis Act. Fort Erie Resolution Cannabis Act, requesting unified approach to land use planning, restriction, and provide more support to municipalities. Fort Erie Resolution, support for amending AgCo process to consider radial separation from other cannabis locations. Fort Erie Resolution, support radial separation of cannabis stores. I think they're trying to disband the lottery format in that process. Fort Erie yes, Southwest, what do we got here? Fort Erie Resolution, we got that AGCO, and item O, Southwest Middlesex Council minutes for October 28th, November 4th, and the special budget meeting of November 4th as well. Council, you have chosen to, you've been invited to pick up what you had. We did on one. I'll entertain a motion. The council for the municipality of Southwest Middlesex receives the consent agenda items 5A through 50 as information with the exclusion of the one from Brantford City Council, including the approval of the October 28th, November and the November 4th meetings and of budget meeting and the November 4th council meeting. May I have a mover and a seconder for that, please? Thank you very much, Councillor Scholdice. Seconder? Councillor Crothers. Questions? All in favor? Carried, Council. Council will now enter a committee of adjustment. And Jill will record the time at 7:25. Today's meeting is held as a virtual meeting due to the declared emergency in order to keep everyone safe. We are taking measures to help stop the spread of COVID-19. All previously explained guidelines and rules are to be followed in the same manner as that of all Southwest Middlesex's public meetings. Today's meetings will be streamed live and recorded and published on the Southwest Middlesex channel and website. Disclosure Council of Pecuniary Interest. Is there any? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 3. The minutes of the October 28 meeting have been circulated to council. Are there any errors or additions or questions? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion that they be moved and seconded. Thank you, Councillor Bartlett, for moving that. Councillor Vink, thank you for seconding that. Discussion? In favor? Committee of Adjustment, item number, yes, Councillor Vink, are you okay? If you have a question, Martin? Okay, yeah, all right.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I saw your hand up there late, but that's good. Thank you. Members of the public wishing to comment on the application are encouraged to provide a written submission to the clerk, Jill Bell Chamber Glazier, or they could have mailed it to 153 McKellar Street, Glencoe. The deadline was noon, Tuesday, November 24th, before the meeting in order to provide comment or oral submission. Written submissions must include your full name and address and email and telephone number at which you can be reached. The clerk has contacted all persons who indicated in their written submissions that they intend to make an oral submission. Members of the public who do not provide written submissions to the clerk in advance of the meeting and decide to provide comment or oral submission while the meeting is ongoing will need to confirm their interest in doing so during the comment recess and make their comment or oral submission during the oral submission time and the part of the meeting. We'll call the meeting to order at 7:28. And I'll read the introduction and hand it over to Stephanie. The purpose of this meeting is to give the public an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to a severance application by McDougall Family Farms Incorporated for Southwest Middlesex Committee of Adjustment to consider the proposal. The purpose and effect is to sever 1.04 acre parcel of land from the property legally described as Range 2 South, the south part of Lot 14 in the Township of Eckford. We'll begin with the protocol of the meeting order. We will begin, the planner will present the staff report and recommendations and will provide any comments received from circulated agencies and the public. Stephanie, will hand the meeting over to you. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Am I able to share my screen?
I believe so. I haven't seen anything yet. There we go.
There we go.
I've got
So this application is actually a resubmission of consent application B04 2018, which was conditionally approved by the Committee of Adjustment on August 29th, 2018. As the conditions of consent were not satisfied within the required timeline under Section 5341 of the Planning Act, the application lapsed, and the owners were advised that a new application was required in order to facilitate the surplus farm dwelling severance. And the new application requests a slightly larger severed lot, being 1.04 acres, whereas the previous severed lot that was originally approved was 1 acre in size, so a slight difference there. And the lands proposed to be severed contain a single detached dwelling and an accessory building and are serviced by a privately owned well and septic system. The severed lands have an existing access from Hyndman Drive, and no change of use is proposed at this time. And the retained lands contain agricultural land and crop production and have a barn that is to be removed as a condition of the consent. And the lands are unserviced as they are used for agricultural purposes, and no change of use is proposed on those lands at this time. The provincial policy statement, County of Middlesex official plan, and the Southwest Middlesex official plan generally permit lot creation in agricultural areas to dispose of a dwelling surplus to a farming operation as a result of farm consolidation, subject to evaluation criteria. Staff are of the opinion that the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement and in conformity with the county and Southwest Middlesex official plans, as the applicant has demonstrated farm consolidation and the proposed severed lot is considered to be of an appropriate size to accommodate the dwelling and services. Staff note that a zoning bylaw amendment application will be required as a condition of the consent, which will prohibit any dwellings from being constructed on the remnant agricultural land as per the Southwest Middlesex official plan requirement. And the barn on the severed lands has proposed to be demolished by the applicant's request due to its unstable condition. And so staff have included a condition that speaks to this effect. The applicant has proposed to retain an existing accessory building on the severed lands. And as a condition of consent, staff had recommended that a structural evaluation be completed and that a change of use permit be obtained in order to ensure that the building is safe for use and that it is used for residential purposes only. Staff note that the proposal does not appear to remove any agricultural land from crop production and are satisfied that this criteria is being met. And the application has been evaluated in regards to the minimum distance separation formula or MDS. And staff note that MDS 1 formula is not applied to when a dwelling to be severed is already located on a separate lot from an area livestock barn or facility. And as the lands proposed to be retained will not contain a livestock facility, staff have determined that there is not an additional MDS setback required as a result of the application. And the applicants have provided a concept plan for the lands to be severed as part of the application and have demonstrated that the minimum lot area and frontage are being met. And confirmation of the setbacks between the existing single detached dwelling, accessory building, and new proposed lot lines will need to be further examined for conformity at the time of the submission of the rezoning application. And should there be any deficiencies identified, a site-specific rural residential zone would be recommended. Staff are also satisfied that the lands to be retained will meet the requirements of the A2 zone, as there are no minimum lot area and minimum lot frontage requirements, and the lands will be vacant of any buildings and structures once the barn has been demolished. So based on the above, staff are satisfied that the criteria for a severance of a surplus residence on the lands have been met or can be appropriately addressed via conditions of consent. And so the notice of the application has been circulated in accordance to the requirements of the Planning Act, and we did receive the following comments. Bell Canada has no concerns, and the Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority also noted no concerns. So it is recommended that the application be granted, subject to conditions, which council should have a copy of. Thank you.
Thank you, Steph, very much for sharing that. The applicant will now have the opportunity to speak if they're present. I'm looking at my names. I I don't see any, so I think we're clear there. Jill, I'll just have you confirm that. I don't believe that they're on screen with us.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much. The next order of business in the committee is the members' remarks. Council, this provides you opportunity to ask questions. Should you have any, just direct them through the chair to Stephanie. Seeing yes, Mark, go ahead, Councillor McGill.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Stephanie, how much time do people have when they apply for a severance like this to get it done? It sounds like this was before council before and the time period lapsed and it had to come back.
Through the mayor to the councillor, they have 1 year from the date of the notice of decision to complete all their conditions. Staff also, as a practice, we do generally send out reminders if conditions aren't being fulfilled of their lapsing date.
Okay, good. No, that's well answered, Steph. Councillor Vink, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. To Stephanie, I noticed in line number 6 that they need a qualified professional. Isn't that unusual for a severance?
So through the mayor to the councillor, this condition was provided because we have official plan criteria for a surplus farm dwelling severance in which staff have the opportunity to evaluate any proposed buildings that are being retained with the properties. And so this was included in order to be satisfied that the condition of the structure is in good shape, and that's for public safety purposes.
Okay. Thank you, Steph. Okay, any other questions, council? Seeing none, we'll move on. Just look again here. I don't want to miss anybody. We have oral submission delegates followed by written submission delegates that I have been advised by our CAO just a moment ago that none have been received at the time of the message. We still stand in that manner, do we, Jill? Nothing there?
So correct. So we received no requests ahead of time for oral submissions. We do not have any written submissions other than the ones that Stephanie has already mentioned with respect to agencies circulated that provided comments back. So now it would just be that 5-minute break to allow anyone who has heard proceedings thus far and wishes to register and make a comment.
You bet. That's next on my list. So this allows people who have not had the opportunity to bring forth their comments may. So we'll have a, historically, we have done this, had a 5-minute recess, and anyone can contact Jill and we can make oral submissions from other participants. So it is currently it's about 20 to 8, and we're going to get back here about just short of 7:45. Okay. Thank you very much, council. 5-minute recess. Thank you, Council. We're just about to begin. We'll just wait for the other staff members to show up and counselors. Good. I think, Jill, we look like we're ready to proceed. Has been anyone registered for oral submissions of other participants?
No, no, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. Two more protocols to follow, Council. The applicant's final remarks, I believe they are not with us. That appears correct. And Council will now make a decision. If someone would entertain a motion that the application for consent B10-2020 submitted under Section 53 of the Planning Act, which proposes to sever 1.04 acre parcel of land from the property legally described as Range 2 South, southern part of Lot 14, Township of Eckford, be granted subject to the 14 conditions as laid out by the planner. May I have a mover and seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Crothers and seconded by Councillor Bartlett. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor? Motion carried, severance granted. Item number 5 on the committee's agenda, Council, are future meetings. December 16th at 7 p.m. We'll have planning business to deal with at that time. Stephanie, I want to thank you very much if you're here with us and for bringing that towards. I'll declare the meeting adjourned at 7:46. Council, we're back to our regular agenda. Continuing on with the council meeting. Number 7, public meetings. There are none. Staff reports. A, fire. At this time, there are none. We'll look forward to Chief Schul's comments at another meeting. Item B, administration. Jill, if you would like to bring us into the conversation of kitchen equipment at the child care facility.
Sure. So what you have before you is a request to approve the flowing of the funds that council received as part of that program for early learning for the daycare project, as well as some of the equipment to go along with furnishing the daycare. So this is what has been selected by the provider of the service, which is the Elm Children's Center. And that's what council has before them.
Okay. Council, any questions? Yes, Councillor Crothers, go ahead. Oh, unmute yourself, Ian. You're muted. Yeah. Keep trying.
I see you tapping.
Yeah. He's trying hard. Yeah. Well, there you go. I think you got it, Ian. Oh, you're off. Yep, you got it.
It wouldn't pop up.
Yeah.
Just wondering, the kitchen equipment, was that not included in the original quote, or is this over and above the original quote on the building?
You're talking fixturing such as kitchen equipment.
Yeah, the fixturing, yeah.
It was a percentage of the grant we received is for sundries like this. I can let Jill expand on that.
Okay. So you received $500,000 to flow through for equipment and furnishings, and that's not the same as the building cost. So other than, I would say, council is able to apportion some of the outdoor play equipment because it fits into the idea of what it is that is provided in the $500,000, but the $2 million that was provided is specifically for the building, and that was what went out to the market, was for the building. But some of the outside educational play equipment fits into the category of the $500,000 and can be used as such.
Yep, that was my understanding. Councillor Scholdice?
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. What is the current cost of the building?
It's deviating from the subject a bit here on kitchen equipment, but I'm not sure whether those numbers are available.
I guess what I'm, sorry, Mayor Mayhew. I guess what I'm wondering is if there is an overreach of the current, what we have available, are we allowed to eat into that $500,000 to cover the cost of overreach on the building?
No, you're not. This 500,000, to my knowledge, is very specifically targeted to fixturing. And
Okay.
Jill, if I'm wrong there.
Thank you.
You're correct, Mayor Mayhew.
I see your head nodding. Very adamantly directed towards fixturing.
Okay.
It would be kitchen equipment, bookshelves, outdoor play equipment, some of the aspects of that. Councillor Cowell, if I could be bold enough to ask you, I knew that the former Elm Children's Center did have some purchases within the last 4 or 5 years. Is any of that being recycled? Would you know?
It was something that was considered. Anything that we could take with us would take with us. The issue with it is that it was in the scale of 39 children, and at this point now they're going to be looking at 88 children, and the scale required for that is quite a bit larger. So for example, we replaced our stove recently, but the stove that we have versus the stove that will be going into the new facility is much larger. And the intention was, if something could be taken with us, it would be taken with us. But beyond our stove and maybe a washer and dryer, we don't have that much. We've been pretty frugal with our updates. We do it when we needed to, and the other side of it too, like with the washer and the dryer, for example, the capacity needed for 39 children versus 88 children will be different. And the hope would be that anything that was not going to be moved into the new facility, if it had value, it would be sold, and that money would be used to help keep the costs of the childcare low. So initially, we're not going to be increasing our costs for parents to attend, and we try to we'll probably run at a loss for a few years and then gradually get up to the point where we're not, but that's partially because we do have some savings.
Good, thank you much, and we'll focus back on that. Logistically, it just doesn't fit. Yeah, you need new. Council, go ahead, Deputy Mayor Wilkins.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. So I don't know who wants to take a stab at this, whether it's Krista or Jill, but I noticed in here there's some things that aren't included. So I'm assuming that the range or the stove and washer and dryer and appliances like that will come from a different distributor. Okay, thank you.
Okay, should.
Actually, Mayor Mayhew, I'll move this.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Is there a seconder for that, Council? Good. Thank you very much, Councillor Cal. Last call for discussion. And we're well on our way to better childcare. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, Jill. And Jill, if we could bring you again on item number B2, council update, November year-end update, if you'd like to speak to that.
I would be happy to. So this is a report for council's information. We have done this for the last few years, and noting some of the things that have been finished or in progress, and recognizing a lot of the hard work and decisions that council has made, and staff working to implement those decisions. So I just thought it was a good opportunity at this meeting to bring that information to council. So you would note that the top 5 economic development strategy plans are either been initiated or have been implemented. So in terms of staffing, that was a decision council supported during the budget deliberation for 2020. Communications plan, we've reviewed that. We're requested information from the Economic Development Committee so that we've got some tourism assets. A community improvement planning process has been initiated, which is something that allows the municipality to consider as the only tool you can use to help incentivize investments in private infrastructure. We've got the daycare facility underway and the agreement with Elm, which is very exciting. There's finally a sign, I think, out there you'll have seen by now. And we'll be excited to do a ribbon cutting of that new building once it is built. Certainly something that has overtaken most of our time and effort and caused certainly some challenges in having people take holidays, that's for sure, is our response to the pandemic for the municipality. And that includes keeping our staff and the residents safe. And we really had to change and pivot and adjust and come back and rechange our plans as we have moved forward. And I think the staff have done a great job. The emergency control group has done a great job, and council have been very supportive of moving forward in light of all of the challenges with the pandemic. And certainly we can see this as a long-term kind of project until we are in a position where we've got some kind of vaccination plan that's approved for the population. In that, it was very notable and noble that there was a community support group that was established to deal with some of the additional challenges beyond maybe just having difficulty with food or some of the other programs that were available. So making connections for those people, I think that was terrific at the time. The Joint Building Services Department being established with Adelaide Metcalf leading the charge on that. Municipal modernization funding being utilized for a couple of different projects where we were jointly looking at different opportunities within the county with some of our other local partners. So those have been taken a lot of energy and thought into how we can make improvements. And then the consultants' findings being shared at first at a county level and then locally as well. We'll look for those. Ongoing refinement for the strategic asset management plan. So continuing to work on that, and very much appreciate the support. And we've been working with Public Sector Digest to refine some of our data on that front so that we're in an even better position to meet the obligations under the legislation. We talked about this a little bit earlier with respect to AMO delegations, having met with several ministers. So appreciate all of those members of council who helped participate in the discussions, talked about issues with infrastructure related to broadband, and from both a rural affairs perspective and from an infrastructure perspective, talked with the Ministry of Finance, talked with Municipal Affairs and Housing around how some of their programs could be changed to help support municipal sectors. And because we do end up delivering a lot of municipal program or provincial programs at a municipal level. We've also moved on a drainage superintendent shared services where we have Andrew Neely is providing support to Adelaide Metcalf. So that's been working out very well so far, and very positive feedback and response from Adelaide Metcalf on that front. Finalized the water agreement with Newbury. So congratulations to one and all on that front. A new waste and curbside recycling collection program implemented in the midst of a pandemic, which I think was just tremendous. We certainly took some calls in the first couple of weeks and making sure people understood the program, but with a lot of communication went out ahead of time. And I appreciate that from both staff dealing with the questions at the front office and the information that was posted on social media. and information that was circulated to residents about that. It's really been running very smoothly, and I think that's been terrific. We've got our new fire chief, so with the retirement of Chief Hansen, we now have Chief Collin filling those shoes, and he's just come into it running, and that's been great. Lots of development activities as well. Site plan agreements that were completed or are moving forward. So a number of those, as well as we have lots of subdivision agreements that are either underway or we're moving through processes this year. And again, just the budget survey, which got touched on yesterday. Thanks to Kristen for putting that out. And that's my report.
Yeah. Good, Jill, thanks very much. And council, thank you. With all of you had a great deal to do with those accomplishments. So I commend council for making Southwest Middlesex, each and every one of you, a better place. Jill, we are now at number 3 in your, I should say, we will move that. Councilor, first of all, are there any questions you'd like to pose to Jill through the chair? Yes, go ahead, Councilor Crothers.
Yes, through you, the mayor. Just regarding the waste recycling connection, it says you're waiting for the new truck. I believe it's here. I think it's been here for, I'm not sure, a couple of 3 weeks anyway, I guess. But it's a pretty nice truck.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, no, it is. Doing a good job.
I think I wrote that about 3 weeks ago. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What have we accomplished in the last 3 weeks?
A lot.
And council, please take your time to ask any questions with Jill if you have any concerns or inquiries. That's good. I'll entertain a motion from one of the councilors to move the report for information. Thank you. Councilor McGill moved it, seconded by Councilor Crothers. Last call for questions. All in favor? Carried. Jill, we're on number 3, the request for proposals for services of Integrity Commissioner, closed meeting investigator, and municipal ombudsman. If you'd like to walk us through that, with the exception of dollars and cents, we can go from there, okay?
Well, sure. I would just recommend that if you're going to go into closed session to receive additional information, you defer this to the December 2nd meeting. We can put it on that agenda, and that still gives you time to bring forward a bylaw before the end of the year.
Yeah. Jill, my notes, we were going to defer that to December 2nd or 4th. What is it?
Next meeting.
Yeah, it'll be on the
Second.
Second.
Why do we have to defer it?
Because we will be getting some additional information in committee of the whole in camera tonight in closed meeting, and with the information you receive in closed session will tie into this. We can deal, it's council's wish whether to deal with it or not, but I'm suggesting that the recommendation of the CAO is that we just defer until December 2nd.
Can't we just come out of closed session and pass the motion after that?
I don't speak on council's behalf. Council will have to speak for themselves. That question, I will allow Jill to answer that question, then I'll take the deputy mayor's question. Jill, it would just be smoother if we deferred it. Is that your plan and a more wholesome
We
investigation?
usually adjourn the meetings so that we are not splicing videos together. So it's just a little bit more work to be putting the meeting together in a video format that's got it all in one spot. If I come out of close, then we'd have to stop the meeting, start a new meeting virtually to get that done.
We usually move that part of the bylaws. I know. Deputy Mayor Wilkins, would you like to speak to the matter?
So yes, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. So Jill, you'll be bringing a report back for closed session.
I wasn't planning on bringing an additional report. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we can't deal with this at the very end. That's your recommendation, Jill? That you'd
Well,
prefer to move this?
You can, but I think it would be easier for the public to just understand that the decision was made in open session at one meeting instead of having to look for it in two different locations as a video feed. That's all.
Okay, that's fine. I'll make the recommendation to defer.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor, to defer to December 2nd. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Vink, thank you. Any further discussion? Yes, go ahead, Councillor Cow.
I just would like to say that I've done enough research in this process to make a decision tonight, so I won't be supporting this motion.
Okay, thank you. It's noted. Any other questions, Council? To defer the conversation of Integrity Commissioner to December 2nd, so it can be dealt with more conveniently for the public and for Council. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Jill, I think we're moving on to building now. And thank you very much for those reports. And we look forward to the December 2nd meeting to discuss that topic. Building report, there is none. Finance, there is none. We had our fill of that at 4 o'clock. And Greg, you're on deck with operations. Item number 1 is the rust protection for municipal vehicles. And I understand some of it's already been done. Is that correct?
Yes, through you, Mayor Allen. Hold on here for a minute. So if you recall, it was probably couple council meetings ago that Councillor Crothers had raised the issue with regards to the application of an oil spray for all the municipal vehicles. When we heard that, we did go to the market at that particular point, had some staff discussions on the application to our vehicles itself and how that could all be accomplished. I will take you to my report. This basically at that particular point, the staff discussions we had and the prices that we were getting back, it did allow us to proceed based on our procurement policy. So we have proceeded with what we consider to be the best deal. Crown had come in a little bit cheaper than Pro Fleet Care, but Crown was also asking us to ship a number of our vehicles to their garages, which would take up staff and vehicle time. And that would have put us, their particular proposal would have been more expensive. Some of our concerns dealt with the product being environmentally friendly. Both products were, and then it became an issue of just how we can get this all accomplished. So Rob has been really good working with this. He has set up with Pro Fleet Care. They have a mobile unit that will be doing all the work at our yards. I know it started the last couple days here, and we expect to get this done by the end of the week. I don't know if anybody has any questions, but we will make sure it's complete coverage for all the vehicles within the municipality.
Thank you, Greg. Certainly gone on that fast. Council, your opportunity to ask questions to Greg through the chair. Yes, go ahead, Doug.
Through you, Mayor Mayhew. Greg, is this going to be an annual thing or a biannual?
Through you, Mary Ellen, I think, it'll probably be a biannual thing, Councillor Bartlett. I mean, one of the things we wanted to do the first go round was make sure that we had a full application. And we would split this up moving forward so that we would do half the vehicles again next year and then half the following year.
Okay.
So that's kind of the discussions we had with the supplier. So, we wanted to make sure that we had all the vehicles, the applications done the first time as I go through. So we're doing everything.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any further questions?
Mr. Mayor, it's Colin Schewel, the fire chief.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
I just want to back up Greg's decision there to go with ProFleet. In my previous job, we dealt with ProFleet up in Central Ontario for a number of years. They provide a great product and definitely did a great job with our fleet up there on an annual basis. So I just wanted to put my thoughts out to support Greg on that decision with ProFleet.
Okay, thank you, Chief Schewel. We appreciate your endorsement on that. Greg, just one more question, if you could, from the chair. Was there any preparatory work on some vehicles? Did you have to power wash the undercarriage or anything on these?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Allen. Yes, we actually had this scheduled for earlier on in the week, but then we got called out to do a fair bit of snow work, so that got delayed for a couple of days because it did take us a couple of days to get all our vehicles washed and get them all cleaned up so that they could be serviced properly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Councillor Scholdice has his hand up. Go ahead, Councillor Scholdice, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I'm just curious, if staff isn't waiting for direction from council on stuff like this, why is this showing up on the agenda tonight?
I think it's as a report merely, not so much a direction. I
don't think we voted on it.
No.
Mayor Mayhew?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so Councillor Carruthers brought this as a notice of motion, and we identified it as either a report to council or a discussion during the budget deliberations, correct, Councillor Carruthers?
I believe so.
Yeah, and since operationally Greg was considering it and opted to look into it ahead of time as a result of the motion, and given that it's in his ability to make that purchase and arrangement for that service, went ahead with it. As I understand it historically, that this was a decision that council and staff made some years ago to not have this kind of undercoating done because of the operational expense. It was something that was done historically and then it was cut from the budget. So it was within the budget for this year operationally, so went ahead and did it. So if that's a concern, then for sure let us know about that.
Yes, go ahead, Deputy Mayor Wilkins.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I guess my question is probably to Greg. So Greg, on the pickups, for sure, there's 5 years warranty on rust and any corrosion. What kind of a warranty is on the tandem trucks and the dump trucks and that type of thing, the payloader? Do we know?
Yeah, there are a number of different vehicles, so I wouldn't know off the top of my head. I know that, certainly the last vehicle that we dealt with was the backhoe, and we purchased an extended warranty for that particular unit of parts. But I have to check the tender on the new truck that we just bought, but the warranty was part of that whole tendering program. So can find out what we have. We have a number of older trucks as well. So I don't know how far to go, but I certainly can provide that information.
And Greg, just off the top of your hat there, or your head, how long are we keeping our pickups? How many years?
We actually have a fairly new fleet, but I would say on average, probably 5 to 7 years.
I'm gonna say 6.
6 years.
Okay.
Close.
Okay.
They're not sort of identified. They are identified in our asset management plan, but we would get some recall based on the asset management plan on when they should be replaced, and I think that's what we've been dealing with. But based on the tendering process in the past, it would be difficult because in some cases they wouldn't have purchased an extended warranty, or they would just have the manufacturer's warranty upon purchase. So
Right. So any of the big three, and I'm not sure the others, have 5 years.
Yeah, so this is what we've done since I've been here. So when we did purchase those warranties as part of the actual purchase machine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Greg. Any further questions? Well, we may have to maintain our fleet very well, and if we have to keep it an extra year or two, the rust protection will certainly be conducive to that. Council, we're receiving this report for information only. May I have a mover and a seconder to receive the information Greg's provided? Councillor Vink, Councillor Crothers. Thank you very much, Councillor Vink, Councillor Crothers. Last call for questions. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We're on item number 3, a drainage matter. The council appoint Street Engineering under Section 78 of the Drainage Act to produce a report on the Murray-Houston drain base on the request received on August 24th of 2020. Andrew and Greg, could you walk us through the Murray-Houston drain?
Go ahead, Andrew.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. As you may recall, this has been to council for council to accept this request on October 21st. Since then, I had a scoping meeting with people on the drain invited to that meeting. And also I had phone conversations with property owners as well. During the scoping meeting, there were more requests that were submitted, and actually after this report had been written, to extend the reconstruction of the drain, there is a branch on the south side of Longwoods Road that has been added to the request. So I felt that the scoping meeting was valuable, and there was no reasonable intention or nothing reasonable that I thought we should stop the process at that point. And of course, the financial implications that, assuming that an engineer is appointed, the cost would be incurred to the drain. If the project proceeds to a final report, that the cost would be allocated to the property owners on the in the watershed according to the assessment schedule, and which includes MacArthur Road and Longwoods Road. So both the municipality and the county. And it is my intention that my recommendation that council appoint Street Engineering under Section 78 to produce a report on the reconstruction and partial enclosure of the Murray-Houston drain.
Thank you, Andrew, very much. Council, any questions to Andrew through the chair? Yes, go ahead, Mark.
That's a really long drain. And to look at the map, I can't tell what part of it's already enclosed and what isn't enclosed. How much of it's already enclosed and how much more of it are we talking about enclosing? And is this going to include cleaning some of it too? Is it some of it open ditch we're going to be cleaning?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, at this point, there hasn't been a request submitted for a clean out. At this point, all that we have is reconstruction of the current and enclosed branches, and then enclosing a branch that is open right now that is exclusively on one of the Dietrich properties. If you can look on the map that I've provided in the report, the open drain starts at 4588 Longwoods, runs parallel to MacArthur, and then it makes a 90-degree turn to the west, southwest, running on the south side of the woodlot, and it continues as an open drain. Currently, I haven't received any requests for enclosure beyond the Dietrich property. So if any enclosure happens, it would be only on that property and it wouldn't extend any further than that.
Thank you, Andrew. Council, any other questions on the Murray Houston drain? We require a motion to appoint Spread Engineering under Section 78 of the Drainage Act to produce a report on the Murray Houston drain based on the request received on August 24th. May I have a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Deputy Mayor Wilkins, seconded by Councillor Bartlett. Last call for discussion. All in favor? Okay, motion carried unanimously. Greg, the other item on here is drainage matters concerning Canadian National Railways. Would you like to speak to that?
Through you, Mary Ellen. No, Andrew can speak to this. I mean, we are having some issues with railways and their participation in municipal drains. So I think that's the kind of thrust of this report. As well, Andrew, after you're finished, you may just want to touch briefly on the new or the rescinded enclosure policy for St. Clair as well. I don't know if you've seen that email. Did you see that email?
Yes, I can start off with that because it is in reference to the Murray Houston drain. The Conservation Authority has appealed the or repealed, I'm sorry, the enclosure policy. Their stance still is that they would prefer that enclosures don't happen. However, it's not a flat out no at this point. The other component of this enclosure would be dependent on the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. However, we do need to have a design to submit to them to get a firm answer as to yes or no. But at this point, I can't really go into any more detail about that because we don't have a design. At this point, we're just appointing the engineer. Mm-hmm. With regards to the CN Rail situation, this is somewhat abnormal and out of the ordinary for myself. But I would like to bring it to council's attention, and some of you may already know that there is ongoing issues with CN and their participation in the Drainage Act. As you can see from my report, that CN Rail has been in Ontario for 100 years, and we are dependent on them, and also we are dependent on their participation in the Drainage Act. However, there is growing concern with regards to that participation. And with that in mind, I did point to specific drains that there has been delay on the construction of the drain. So in the case of the Dealman drain, close to the intersection of Glendon and Melbourne Road, that has been slated to be done or attempted to be done since 2018. And it has been tentatively canceled more recently. And the Curry drain that is just east of Glencoe, that also goes under the track. There is an overflow pipe that is identified in the engineer's report from years past that is in the need of either relining or replacement. That has been canceled. And just to let council know that OMAFRA is in talks with CN, And I don't know too much about it at this point. I do know that the director of drainage, Tim Brook, has indicated that things seem favorable, but they don't. He doesn't feel that the situation is going to be solved quickly. So currently, there is no recommendation other than just informational only.
Thank you, Andrew, very much. Councillor McGill, go ahead.
Thank you, Andrew, for your report. That was very well done. And I'm wondering if you think, would it be helpful if we pass this information on to federal and provincial level, like our local MP, MPPs, because actually the railroad is under the jurisdiction of the Federal Ministry of Transportation, I believe. We could even contact them, because I know this is quite a concern. There's landowners upset about this. It's affecting their drainage. And I tried to explain to them that, you know, that you're doing the best that you can. It's CN that's the problem. And also, have you shared this information with the affected landowners too?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. That point is exactly the situation. We are reminded that the railroads are governed by a federal act, and the Drainage Act is at the provincial level, and that is a point of contention that we have. Our authority is trumped at this point. And yes, I have explained that to any of the ratepayers that have inquired with me as to how that all lines up. And yes, I do intend on reaching out to the MP and the MPP, and also checking with the director of drainage with OMAFRA to see if that will help push things along.
Because I would make a motion that we support you sending a to the MP, something to the MP and the MPP, and also the Federal Minister of Transportation and the Federal and Provincial Ministry of Agriculture.
Okay, thank you, Mark, for that motion. There's a couple of questions. Councillor Cowell has a question. Councillor Vink, did you want to second that motion?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thanks very much. And Councillor Cowell, I haven't forgot you. I'll get back to you. Are there questions? We'll entertain questions now, and Councillor Cowell will go first.
It's not so much a question. I think it's a great idea, but oftentimes we see in our correspondence motions like this that get circulated to the other municipalities, and that I can't imagine we're the only ones being impacted by this. So if we were to send this along to the other municipalities within Ontario, and it was something where everybody was sending this off to those listed people that Councillor McGill suggested, and I would even suggest the Minister of Transportation in Ontario as well. But perhaps that would help us create some traction and say, like, this is slowing things down, and there is a argument between the two entities. So how can we make this work together, because municipalities and ratepayers are suffering?
I think it is a problem across the country. And a good suggestion. Yes, would you like to amend your motion to include that?
Yes, I will, friendly amendment to include that we send this to the other municipalities as well.
Thank you. Councillor, out of courtesy, I'll ask you, do you mind if we include that we send this off to other municipalities, our feelings? Can you accept that?
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Councillor Vink, can you accept that?
Yes.
Okay, thanks very much. No, it's good. Jill and I spoke early this morning on this, and we both agreed that this would be a great opportunity to present at a delegation at Roma or AMO to the minister. both ministers of agriculture and of transportation. And at the AMO level, perhaps even there's even a federal audience there sometimes. So you can be assured that that is on Jill's radar. We spoke about it this morning, and it would be a good topic to seek out a delegation on and have a virtual face-to-face meeting regarding it. And I think that's another avenue we can take down the road, and we'll keep that, as I say, on our radar. Last call for questions. Yes, Councillor Crothers, go ahead.
Yes, through you, the mayor, to Andrew. Recently, I was talking to Greg about a probably similar situation on the CP rail line on Old Airport Road and CP Drive. Plug culvert under the track. I guess the culvert's there. The farmer told me it is, but you can't even see it anymore. And there's standing water. I was there the other day after the rain in the road ditch and the railroad ditch. So I don't know whether Greg get a chance to talk to you now, but I'm wondering if CP are in the same situation or have you dealt with them?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if it's the same culvert that I'm aware of, I know that my predecessor, Liz, was in the process of making CP aware of this, that it needs to be dealt with. And I have also started up the process again with CP to make them aware. And I did receive a call today from a representative from CP, and I am in the process of getting back to him. If it means he and I take a walk back to where it is, and again, if we're talking about the same culvert, then I would certainly be open to that, because I've been back there recently, different times, because up downstream of beaver dams.
Yes, the one is right directly on Old Airport Road. It crosses just straight beside Old Airport, just north of CPR Drive. It's right on the road, that one. Now there's another one back in the farmer's field a way back that he told me he was having problems with too, but I don't know anything more about that. If that's the same farm, I'm not sure.
No, it's a subject that we're going to have to pursue, Andrew, and we'll get on it. I know even get a flagman around ask in terms of railroads.
So I will make a quick comment. Sometimes these particular areas that we're talking about are municipal drains, and Andrew leads the charge with regards to those. I think Ian, the one that you're talking about is actually a culvert that's on CP property that is at the road edge.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we're having our trouble with CP and CN for anything that happens on their right of way of their railway. So they would like us to go in and fix their problems, but you know, they get mad when we work on their property, yet they're not really coming to the table as far as fixing particular areas. If they are related to the road and they're on public property, then we fix them like we're supposed to. And it's not just in culverts, it's in the growth of Phragmites, it's in the sight lines for a crossing, etc., where they've tried to shed that particular jobs off to the general public and to us. And I've had several meetings with the Federal Railway Agency on sites about these, and you know, it's just that the railway companies don't believe that they should be doing this. They only want to be responsible between the ties, where the ties are on a railroad track, and that's it at this particular. So it's an ongoing thing, not just in municipal drains, but in our general operation.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
If I could, Mayor Mayhew.
Go ahead.
I would just say I reached out to the neighboring CAOs within Middlesex County that have rail lines that run through them, just to see if they're encountering the same issues. And much like Andrew's communication with his cohorts within the drainage world, the CAOs have noted this is an issue. So they will certainly be looking for a motion, and I suspect would have their council support that if council decides to pass that tonight. identify the challenges.
Sounds good. Council, last call for question. Seeing none, would someone entertain a motion that we accept this report for information and that we send letters off to our members of parliament, and that in addition to that, we will notify municipalities as well of our plight. Motion for that, please.
I think Mark already
I
motioned
think Mark
it.
has already made it, Alan.
All right, good. We got a seconder? Good. Long discussion.
Martin seconded it, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. That's right. Martin did. All in favor, council? Carried unanimously. Next on, yes, Councillor Vink, do you have a question?
No.
No? Okay.
No, I don't. No.
Okay. With your hand up,
Froze.
Martin. That's yeah. Yeah, you're just a frozen picture of Martin with his hand right up. Deputy Mayor Wilkins has made a notice of motion that stands tonight. Would you like to speak to that, Deputy Mayor Wilkins?
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I certainly would. So I was contacted by a member of our community a few weeks ago, and I believe this person is actually very involved in one, maybe two fall fundraisers that collect canned goods and such for the food bank. So they're concerned that because those events can't be held this year because of COVID, that there is going to be a shortfall. I did assure this person that the council, or the Southwest Middlesex Council, has for a number of years given a donation of $1,000 just before Christmas to the food bank. And they were actually very happy to hear that, but they still believe that there's going to be some shortfall, especially since I think SERB was done in September. And I think they're just concerned that the need in the community is probably going to be just as great now as it was at the start of this pandemic. So I had spoke to our treasurer about this a few weeks ago, and I apologize. I meant to bring it up at the last council meeting and it completely slipped my mind, but it's still time. And I would like council support on this. Thank you. And I'll make the motion, of course.
Thank you very much.
Seconded.
Wilkins, thank you, Councillor Crothers. Are there questions, council, in regard to this? Yes, Councillor Scholdice, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I'm just wondering how this is to be divvied up amongst the various food banks within Southwest Middlesex.
Yes, Councillor Scholdice, I know of three. And is there any apportionment, Deputy Mayor, that you wanted to give this, or?
So could you remind me of the three? I'm only aware of two, and I have spoke to a few people in my community here in Ward 3, and they're really not aware of a food bank. So if somebody could just kind of clarify that for me, I would appreciate it.
I would be pleased to, and I want to commend you on your motion. It's generous and well thought of. We have, of course, the key player would be St. Vincent de Paul in terms of their Christmas baskets.
Of course,
provider.
I know of that one.
Secondly to that, the Regeneration Center caters to about 70 individuals on a weekly basis. The parish hall of the church beside Tim Hortons is a food distribution center as well. And they operate, I would say, 2 days a week, and they're on call 7 days a week. And they look after not only food, but they distribute personal hygiene items that they purchase. And they are exceptionally busy. And they are, to say this courteously, they're very short-staffed in relationship to the demand they're getting. A third one that should be mentioned that does magnificent work in Southwest Middlesex, and I will also say they also capture, in all transparency, a bit of the Newberry market as well, is called the Benevolent Fund. The Benevolent Fund is operated by the Ministerial Association of Southwest Middlesex. And the key players in that would be Reverend Debbie Dolbear and Reverend Bonnie Raynar. The benevolence fund is widely used by people who don't have the money to pay a water bill, who don't have the money to pay a tax installment, who don't have the money to put gas in their car to get to work. And these are educated professionals that categorize the requests, seek background evidence and information on a confidential basis, and they too. So I guess that would be 3. And then 4, I happened to be at the Presbyterian Church in Wardsville in the parish hall early in the year, and I noticed a food bank there that was stocked with cans of soup and beans and pastas and things of that nature in the Presbyterian Church at Wardsville on the south wall of the parish hall downstairs. So there'd be those 4 avenues. Certainly, if it would help the Treasury if we gave them some direction of where to send this money, but you know, you can go 500.
I actually believe it does, Mayor Mayhew.
Okay. All right. So of those 4 organizations, how are we distributing the money?
The motion says a one-time additional donation of $1,000 to support 2 local area food banks as part of the donations for the 2020 budget from 2020 budget.
Of the 4 that I've given you, Deputy Mayor Wilkins, what 2 would you choose on that?
Well, I think it's pretty specific. It says area food banks. So if you think that needs to be changed, well, now's your time.
Well, save it.
Can I help a little bit explain how some of these programs work?
Sure.
So I had the opportunity to work with all of the groups that you're mentioning through our community support program this summer. And I can tell you that they are intimately connected. And if there's someone who has a resource or needs a resource, they share it, especially food. And I think one of the things that is trying to go across with this specific motion is that if people are hungry, we want to make sure they're fed. And that's the struggle with the benevolence fund is, as the mayor mentioned, it does touch on people outside of Southwest Middlesex. And as a result, it doesn't touch on simply just food. They have a bit of discretion with their benevolence fund. Whereas with the food bank specifically in Southwest Middlesex at the St. Vincent de Paul, they actually check addresses because that's part of their requirement for what some of the funding that they have is to make sure that their residents underneath their different area. And Councillor Vink might be able to touch on that because I know he's on their board. And if, for example, there's an abundance of a specific type of food, they do share it. So, for example, I know there was a donation made of chickens this year. And it was, this is how many chickens we have for our food baskets. If there's extras, they will go to the regeneration center or one of the other groups. At the same thing being said, the squash that were collected, there was over 100 squash that were brought back to the food bank. And if there were any extra, they would be going to the regeneration center. And some more donations were made to the regeneration center. So when we talk about like even some of the cans in the food cupboard, what ends up happening with what happens at the food bank is sometimes Christina will check the labels, and if something's getting close to an expiration date within their guidelines of what they're allowed to give away, she'll make sure she reaches out to them. They meet almost weekly amongst themselves in a Zoom meeting to discuss who needs what. So in a lot of ways, the food bank has paid staff that is able to help facilitate it, and Christina does a lot of it. And like I said, they screen the addresses. So I don't know if that's a little bit of information that helps you make the decision. The Benevolence Fund is a really, really wonderful program, but I'm not sure it fits the need of a food services program.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Cowell. I really appreciate that information. But I think I'll leave it the way it is, Mayor Mayhew, and I'll leave it up to them to distribute it. Councillor Cowell has said that they do have a meeting weekly. And I think we all heard her say that it is shared amongst the different organizations. So I feel pretty comfortable just leaving it the way that it's read there, and then let the food bank distribute it as they see fit.
Councillor Kell is correct. They do work together. I'm in contact with them weekly. And the examples I gave of the benevolent son were non-food. So they, as Krista said, and the examples I gave were non-food. Council, any further questions? Last call. $1,000 be given to our local groups that assist others at the discretion of the Treasury. And I guess I'll call the question. All in favor? Passed unanimously. That's good. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor, for bringing that to Council's attention. Correspondence received, proposed changes to the Conservation Authorities Act, Bill 229. That's, raise a few eyebrows. St. Clair Conservation Authority, summary of proposed amendments. Proposed municipal council resolution from St. Clair Conservation Authority. LTVCA.
There's a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed a hand. Yeah. Oh, Councillor Scholdice, I see your hand now.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I just wondered, could I move that motion for the municipalities?
Just identify that again.
The second last one, my screen just went off. It was the second last one, or the third last one, the resolution for municipalities.
Summary of proposed amendments of the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority was the second one. And no motion is just, these are just items of correspondence that we received. Do you wish to deal with them?
There's
I guess.
a motion.
Screen there.
Sorry, Alan, there is a motion in there. I just like my screen went off on me and I can't seem to locate it right now.
So I've just shared my screen briefly.
Okay.
There's a proposed resolution for municipalities.
Could I make a comment?
That's it. That's it.
Okay. Yes. We've got a motion on the floor by Mike. I'll ask for a seconder on this and I'll get right back to you, Councillor McGill. Is there a seconder for this?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Ian. I couldn't see you there.
Yes.
Open up to discussion, and thank you, Councillor Scholdice and Councillor Crothers. Councillor McGill, go ahead.
Well, there's a proposed resolution from Lower Thames, and then there's a proposed one from St. Clair. They're not the same, but they don't contradict each other. And I just wondered if Mike would be interested in amending his motion so that we actually approved both of them, the Lower Thames one and the St. Clair one.
Suggestion, Councillor Scholdice, would you feel comfortable with that, doing both watersheds?
Yes, I'm good with that.
Okay, and Councillor Crothers, if we direct that support to both watersheds,
that's fine.
Thank
Yes.
you. Okay. No more questions?
Just to comment, our conservation authority had an emergency meeting about this last week because of the urgent nature of it. What's different about this than some of the other things they've tried to do was that they've put this in with a finance bill, which means they don't have to get public consultation on it. Whereas before they've been working on Bill 108, which did include public consultation for almost a year. So there's quite a bit of frustration around this because it's making some pretty unilateral changes. For example, some municipalities choose to appoint someone from the public to their board, and that is their choice at this point in time. Places like London don't have enough councillors who want to come out to Chatham to make some of these decisions, especially when they only contribute less than 10% of the budget. Whereas other municipalities, which have a larger chunk of the budget, obviously want to have a say. So it's just very strange, some of the requests that they're having. And it doesn't really, again, it's one of those things where we haven't asked for any of these changes and they've kind of unilaterally said, oh, we're going to make these changes along with the county as well. So thank you guys for both bringing this up. Even things like how long you can chair for. And I mean, in our area, with the last election, there were only, I believe, 2 returning directors. And so none of the new directors wanted to chair. And it just so happened that the individual who is currently chairing it was the one who had been chairing it at the end of the last one. So it would have removed her from being able to chair and left someone with no experience who didn't necessarily even want to be the chair.
Yeah, Council, this
Great.
is not Bill 229, and I brought it up, some concerns to County Council. There was one other councillor, I think it might have been Joanne Vanderhayden, that brought it up, and we both spoke to that, and Ina DeVito as well, Middlesex Center. Council, motion before us to contact with the support of both watersheds. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Martin's hand's always the last to go up. I have to wait just a minute there. Thank you, Council. These conservation areas deserve our support. Unfinished business. I have none, Jill, on my data sheet here.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. And item number 12 is new business. And I don't believe there is any. County Council and conference updates. Has anyone gone to a conference? We haven't gone to a hotel. Yes, Councilor McGill.
Well, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. And maybe you were going to get to this, but do you have any updates on the Chris Crothers severance? I heard that it was maybe going to be appealed by the county.
Yes, I have, and Jill can speak to that. Jill and I have discussed this. I think it'll be aggressively appealed by the county, and no doubt about that. We deferred it at the suggestion of the Mr. Rayburn, the CAO, in order that we can put together an argument. The November 24th council meeting was fairly full, and it will take a lobbying from all of us with respect to this, and to put together information. And of course, I mentioned previously to council that there will be cost implications on that, and Jill and I are discussing these cost implications and how we can mitigate this. But to Councilor Bill, it's a fair question. I think I'm going to pass it over to Jill just for some clarification. There may be some things that we can't discuss publicly, but we'll certainly attempt to bring it out and answer your question. Jill, can you provide Councilor McGill with any more information on this?
Sure, I can certainly try. Through you, Mayor Mayhew, the county has appealed the decision of the Committee of Adjustment for Southwest Middlesex with respect to that severance. And the process for that, there's a long-standing delegated authority to the Director of Planning at the county so that they can make the appeal and then bring it forward to County Council for consideration at a later date, whether or not County Council would direct the staff to withdraw it or maintain the appeal. But that process allows the director to meet the provincial timelines under the Planning Act for an appeal. And then once we've received that, we are obligated to send that into the LPAT. So we're in the process of finalizing the package of information. Both Kendra and I have been working on that, and we will submit it. It will be then really in the hands of the LPAT following that, unless there is some decision to withdraw it at a county level. Then really it's somewhat out of the hands of Southwest Middlesex Committee of Adjustment. And it would just be a matter of how the municipality wishes to proceed in defense of the decision.
Okay, thank you, Jill. Mark, will certainly keep you posted on that. Will that do for now?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Thank
I
you
have a
very
comment.
much. Yes, go ahead, Councillor Cal.
I took the opportunity with the anticipation of it actually being on the agenda for the November 24th, as anticipated, to reach out to some of those on County Council about this situation. As some of you may have been aware, there was a session available to us that was that discussed undersized farms within Ontario. It talked about how over 50% of the farms in Ontario are considered an undersized farm, which just means fewer than 100 acres, and that we should be considering as a province moving towards that kind of model because it offers the opportunity to have diverse types of agriculture, including market gardens and smaller animal production, which is potentially something we could be looking at in our own municipality. Jansen's Farms offers something similar to that with only a 50-acre property. And in the process of reaching out to some of the mayor's colleagues on county council, one of the things they let me know is that oftentimes when they have a report like this come to them on their agenda, they frequently agree with the recommendation put before them by staff. However, by bringing it to their attention, making them aware of the situation and explaining the situation, it means that it comes off the page. It's not just an automatic, oh, let's do what the staff is recommending. So as the mayor said, we all can take the opportunity to reach out to the county councillors when it does come on the agenda and rally for our constituent, because we all voted, not all, most of us voted in favor of this. So if we want this to happen, and I think this is something that could be good for the municipality, we have our parts to do too in reaching out to the county councillors and lobbying on behalf of our ratepayer, like I did.
Thank you, Councillor Cal. Just one point of your conversation there to council was that the Provincial Planning Act may have to be examined on this. And when the opportunity for revisiting these acts come, we'll have to be extremely vocal and presentations. And again, the opportunity may present itself in a delegation to one of the ministers. Deputy Mayor Wilkins, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. So just a comment. For some time now, I've heard councillors say that it will cost the municipality money. So I did a little bit of digging on that last week and maybe in the last 2 weeks. And we never have defended an appeal. We've left that up to the applicant. If they so choose to take legal counsel or planning counsel in to defend it, that's up to them. Southwest Middlesex has never footed a bill to defend an appeal. So just so that you all know that.
Deputy Mayor, that's good news. There was some discussion that because it was a decision of our council, because it was a council decision, the council would defend it as opposed
I'm well aware of that, but we never have.
That's that, and we have broached that in conversations with staff as well. And Jill, I don't want to leave you out of this. You're perhaps more knowledgeable than anyone on the protocol and some of the governance we can do to mitigate cost. Is there anything you'd like to add to this, or we leave it just leave it at this point? Jill?
I don't think I have anything further to add at this point.
Okay. That's fine. Okay, but we'll certainly keep counsel. And thank you, Deputy Mayor, for those comments. We have compassion towards the applicant and the need for this. And I don't think there would be any loss of farming practices on that land should a house ever go on one of those, on that vacant, that field. The majority of it would be farmed. Any other conferences or issues? County Council met on November 23rd, Council, and just out of respect, I see it's on the agenda here. A couple of the things that were mentioned: grants to Middlesex tourism in the amounts of $138,000 were received, revised expenditure deadlines. And what that means, they really didn't have time to get the money out for COVID relief. So they requested an expenditure deadline of February 28th, 2021, because we all know that the disharmony this has caused socially and in business and in tourism will be in this situation for a while. just a few items of interest. That was one. There was a payroll delivery service review presentation by Andrea Spence. She's Senior Manager of Industry and Government Practices, Optimus, SBR, long name. She evaluated the current position and status of county and regional payroll systems. She also reported to Morgan Calvert, a name you're familiar with in information technology, as head of the county information and technology, subject to a study. It did examine accounting costs, procurement costs, even the possibility of sharing when the county buys trucks, whether we should piggyback on them so that we can get better deals. This delivery service of payrolls there would be an expected cost savings outcome under a shared service between the county and their members. It would allow for standardization, better bargaining, and purchasing technologies. This is a continued effort, and we've experienced this to examine efficiencies in governments. I think the key that has to be taken away from this, standardization does not mean a lack of control for municipalities. Each municipality will have differences, and those differences would have to be respected. Morgan Calvert then presented a report with the help of Cindy Howard from Treasury on municipal modernization programs, service deliveries, review on payroll processing. It was approved that this report be submitted to the province of Ontario for examination, and this discussion can be found on the county's website. Another good news story, the new Women's Caucus organization from County Council was established a month and a half ago. It provided a women's forum for discussions and for women who are involved in governance and provide advocacy and support. Their inaugural meeting was just held recently. It had over 80 plus women who signed on. I was very pleased that Deputy Mayor Wilkins was present at that, I heard. They had a renowned guest speaker. I'm not sure, but I think I heard she was the Governor General. It's interesting to see some of the COVID statistics that come out. 50% of employed women have been affected by COVID-19, a sizable amount. And their number one concern during this pandemic was childcare. So it certainly picked up my listening skills when I heard that, in view of the fact that we're progressing with our childcare. So it's a good resource, and Councillor Cowell, I urge you to take note of it and see if you can get on there.
As I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, I was a part of it.
Oh, good. That's good. All right. As well, I spoke to the ramifications proposed by Bill 229 affecting other councillors join me on that. I won't go through the points I made. There's 4 area concerns that I identified in the bill, and they're in relationship to communications that came out from Lower Thames Valley Conservation. The meeting concluded with the appointment of Kathy Burkhart Jessup as warden for 2021. Her nomination stood alone with no others coming forward. It was believed that the continuity would assist the governance in this year of the many changes that we've undergone during the pandemic. It's somewhat historical. The position Kathy is in, taking a second year consecutively as warden. It's an unusual accomplishment for Kathy, and we wish her well. And the meeting was concluded by a musical portion presented by soloists from Medway High School and council. That would be my report delivered from County Council. Thank you. Announcements, Councillor, are there any? Okay. We are going to go into closed session, but to convenience the virtual communications, can we deal with the bylaws? And then we'll go into closed session, so it won't interrupt the viewing of our listening audience and viewing audience. We have 2 bylaws. The bylaw requiring an emergency measure management program that's been circulated at committee, and plan for the protection of public safety and health, the environment, the critical infrastructure and property, and to promote economic stability and disaster resilient community. Covers a lot. And the second one is the confirming bylaw of this evening's council meeting of November 25th, 24th. Would someone entertain first, second, and third reading on those bylaws? Councillor Scholdice, Councillor Bartlett. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. We require some discussions in closed session. Personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local boards, employees, labor relations or employee relations. Information explicitly supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board by Canada or a province or territory or a crown agency of any of them. And specifically the matters relating to the following: the hiring policy and information supplied in confidence by Canada, a province, group or territory, the crown agency, and information regarding an RFP that we sent out regarding the costs of integrity commissioner, ombudsman, etc. May I have a motion to move into closed session? Mover? Thank you, Councillor Vink. A seconder, Councillor Crothers. Are there any questions? Councillor Cowell, you have your hand up? No.
You're muted.
I'm just itching right here.
Fine, I saw your hand go up there. Okay, no questions. I'll call the question. All in favor?